Hey, Snyder Crusaders, the reason why we've spent so much time the last 2 days talking about our education system and the postmodernism, the Marxism that's going on, clearly, blatantly, and explicitly, is to understand the forces that are dividing us. That's the ultimate goal, is to keep us divided, to keep picking at the scabs of our country, of racism in particular, because when you pick scabs, they continue to bleed and they can continue to divide. And we have to cut that out. Enough of that. And one of the men who's leading the charge to stop that is Vince Ellison. He's got a book called The Iron Triangle. You can get it on irontrianglebook.com. Vince, how are you, brother?
Man, I'm doing great. How are you?
Good to talk to you, man. What's your thesis here? What's your message?
Well, I was born on a cotton plantation in Tennessee, West Tennessee. My father was a sharecropper. And, he pulled us out of poverty by getting involved in the insurance industry. And I lived a middle-class life and went to the University of Memphis. And after that, I started working in the prison industry in South Carolina in the 90s. And I saw that we were going backward because the Clinton crime bill and the Biden crime bill was locking up a lot of black men, just a lot of black men, period. In South Carolina, the prison system, we had 3 prisons in the 1980s, and by the end of the 90s, we had over 40. So I started asking the black intelligentsia, man, what's going on? Why are these young black men being locked up? Why are we going backwards? And of course, they said it was those evil, rich, white Republicans. They're doing it to us. So I resigned my post, went down there into the black community to try to help stop sending men to prison and started trying to keep them out. And when I got down there, I found out something pretty interesting. I saw no rich white Republicans down there. I only saw black Democrats. And what I saw mostly were these 3 entities. I call them the black preacher, most black politicians, and most black civic organizers. And I call this group the Iron Triangle. And they had a job, and this job was a particular job. They were contracted by rich white liberals to keep the black community in complete control so they could get 90% of the black vote. And they've been doing it very well for the last 60 years. So that's why I call the book The Iron Triangle. I expose who these people are. I expose how they work. I expose the history of it, how it came about, and how they operate. And what we can do to stop it.
Yeah. Let me focus on one of them. The preacher. The black preacher. Talk to me about that.
Well, it's Gunnar Myrdal was a Swiss economist. He wrote a book called The Negro Problem in America back in the 30s. And he came to America to find out what was the problem with black people, why we couldn't pull ourselves up. Myrdal talked about the black minister and said that he was created by the slave master. He talked about how the minister's job was to perpetuate slavery and how his job was to keep black people in line for, of course, the master. After slavery, of course, he did the same thing again. So he was taught an apostate religion from the beginning because in the South, it was a false Christianity because this Christianity said that you could keep people enslaved. It said you could rape black women and then sell your children. So the black slave was taught this Christianity, and he was taught it from his master and from the black minister. Let's fast forward 100 years later to the Civil Rights Movement. You got the same thing going on. He's just a pawn in a game to keep black people under control for the white master. Who is this white master? The white Democrat. He always has been. They have controlled the black community since 1800, since their inception. From 1800 to 1860, slavery. From 1865, they killed 1 million people in the Civil War, trillions of dollars worth of damage to keep their slaves. From 1865 to 1965, 100 years of Jim Crow, systematic murder, systematic destruction, theft, rape, looting, you name it. One end, to keep the black community under control for them. When they could no longer do it after the Civil Rights Movement, they decided we can't keep them from voting, we're going to control the vote. And then they went again and got the black preacher and all these other guys and said, we want you to make sure these black people vote Democrat. And they did. And we have never not voted Democrat, except for a small time during Reconstruction. After that, the election of 1876, the South went Democrat. And it went Democrat when Confederates could not vote. So who voted Democrat in 1876? It had to be black people and freed slaves. We've always done it. It's Stockholm Syndrome, it's cognitive dissonance, and it's love for the master, and it hadn't changed, and it's not going to change until we make it.
Snyder Crusaders, thanks for watching The First on YouTube. If you want more, like, subscribe. We got plenty.